Jett is not the worst agent. Phoenix is. Well, worst is a strong word. I'd say the least strongest agent. That is to say, I think Jett is just slightly better than Phoenix. I'm no pro player. That alone is obvious. I'm just a player who spends more time in games than an average player. I'm not highly skilled. I'd say I'm decently average. But I can still lay out an unpopular opinion. And that is, Phoenix is the least strongest agent. And not Jett. Okay, Phoenix mains, hear me out. To be perfectly honest, I think that each agent is best at the hands of the right player. But I'm just looking at this on an average mindset. First of all, in the competitive world of pro players, it's hard to distinguish who's the better agent. But since most of them have said that Jett is the worst agent, then let's leave it at that. But, on the average player, Phoenix seems to cause a lot more trouble for the team than Jett. Utility. Most of the reason pro players think that Jett is the worst agent is because he lacks utility. And I definitely agree. The only utility that he has are tree smokes, which are, compared to Omen and Brim's smokes, are a lot more difficult to control, and a lot more shorter in time. Omen and Brim can place their smokes a second before Jett, and Jett smokes will still decay first. Phoenix, on the other hand, has 3 utilities: a molly, wall, and 2 flashes. You might immediately think that Phoenix is better, but we are talking about average gameplay here. Phoenix's wall and molly are sometimes used for healing himself, rather than as a utility for an average player. Using it to heal yourself also gives up your location as to where you might be, but this can also be used to outplay your enemy. But in most cases, it's not. Now about his flash. He has a very dangerous flash for both the enemies and for the team, even for himself. Sure, for those that are used with Phoenix, you can almost use it perfectly, but even pro players who use him still make these kinds of mistakes. His flash can be mistakenly calculated and sometimes would flash your team instead of the enemy. His flash is also a short distance flash and is the worst flash in the game compared to Reyna and Breach's flash. His flashes can either kill the team or the enemy. Even though Jett has only one skill for utility, her other skills are used for extreme maneuver. Although these skills are extremely loud, it can still caught you off guard where the enemy Jett might pop off. When peeking through an angle, most of the time you would be focused on the ground head level, as there are few agents who can jump on top of structures. But when facing an enemy Jett, you'd have to split your focus to the structures around the angle, as there is a huge possibility that Jett will be there. Her signature skill can also be used as a second chance to dash yourself away in a losing gunfight, allowing you to reposition yourself. Phoenix lacks this kind of chance, and at most times would determine his fate only in the current gunfight. For the ult, I think Jett's ultimate is better than Phoenix. Although it seems harder to use, but it's more effective and less risky to use. At close ranges, right-clicking your ult will kill the enemy around 80% of the time. Given also that her knives ignore the accuracy drop when moving, jumping, or floating, her ult can make you catch enemy off guard and at the same time, deal damage or kill the enemy even being in an unexpected location. The ult also gives you the same movement speed when holding a knife, allowing you to be difficult to aim at. Phoenix's ult, on the other hand, seems effective at first but carries a really heavy risk. The good thing about his ult is that he has a second chance. He can play aggressively, and upon returning to his body, he will be fully healed. Now the bad thing about his ult is that when he uses it, he leaves a mark to let the enemy know where he will be returning, and even without dying, he will still eventually return. Upon returning, his animation has a long duration enough for the enemy to kill him when returning. His ult is also uncontrollable, meaning you can't cancel it, you can't manually go back to your spot, and you can teleport to your current spot. It's only use ult go dive and die or let the timer run out. When defending, this mistake often happens when Phoenix uses his ult and dive, assuming that he clutches it safely, but as he's done killing all the enemies, he can't defuse his spike or do anything. Or as he goes for the defuse, chances are the time limit of his ult will run out before defusing the bomb. As great as his ult can be as a second life, it carries a lot of risk in the worst situations. In playstyle, they're both duelists, that means they're both like the fighter of the team. Although Jett's playstyle is mostly solo because of her skills, Phoenix's skills can cause a great impact to his team when he doesn't use it right. It's better to provide little utility but doesn't affect the team than to provide utility that can easily bite back. Maybe if Phoenix gets a buff that lets you control his ult a little bit better, then maybe Phoenix can be a better agent than Jett. Of course, if this were given to pros that have already mastered his agents, both would be the best at their own style. But for the general community of players, I personally think that Jett is better than Phoenix.